New York, the sightseer's paradise. Many persons describe America's largest city as the greatest man-made wonder of the world.
The towering skyscrapers of Radio City.
New York, the Rotten Apple.
High society blue bloods are dancing into New York's most fashionable hotels. Challenges that demanded the use of dramatic new engineering concepts.
Some of the finest apartments and most magnificent new office buildings are found.
Hey ho, on the road again, moving on forward. Stones won't break bones. You're in the car on the highway. It's so magical, feeling that no one's got hope.
This is the circle.
You're a catalyst to your own happiness, you know. Your heart is alive, it's pumping blood. It is your heart, it's alive, it's pumping blood. And your whole world is whistling.
History books and public television documentaries are always trying to tell you all sorts of facts about New York. That Canal Street used to be a canal. That Bryant Park used to be a reservoir. It's all hook'em. I've been to Canal Street, and the only time I ever saw a river flow through it was during the last water main explosion. Never listen to what people tell you about old New York, because if you didn't witness it, it's not a part of your New York, and it might as well be Jersey.
'Cause it's your heart, it's alive, it's pumping blood.
Times Square becomes the Great White Way at night when all its spectacular lights go on. For this is the entertainment center.
One of the more frequently changed or updated parts of the city is Times Square. Being the main tourist attraction, people are drawn to it because of its lights and stores. To keep up its appeal, there's only one thing they can do, as Colson Whitehead said. Build it bigger, better, brighter, and blinding. Times Square has gone from new and shiny to big and bright to sketchy and seedy to a plain old migraine over the past couple of decades. Times Square is a prime example of places in New York that have developed over time. In the 60s, Times Square became a hotspot for some of the worst crimes in the city. It wasn't until the 1990s did they begin to clean up the streets, increasing security and closing the adult theaters. Times Square is now a fairly kid-friendly place. But while the crime rate may have lowered, there is no doubting that the imitation cartoon characters that line the streets are no less terrifying. So with a reputation for being a headache, how does Times Square maintain its popularity and continue to be a symbol for the city as a whole? Because it does what New York does best. Keeps up with the times.
Greenwich Village is mostly a state of mind.
While not unlike most of the city, the village is a place of change. However, it was also a place where people used to go when they wanted change. In the 60s and 70s, the Bohemian movement took over, and it was also a major part in the LGBT movement. The beat and 60s subcultures played a major part in Greenwich Village's very liberal history and still influence artists to this day. Sadly, the gentrification of the village transformed it from an art hub to now only a reminder of what once was. The newly high housing costs aren't necessarily something most artists and other creative types can afford.
Jeff Buckley's Grace was playing loud as hell in the back of an old dive bar. So I step outside and light a cigarette.
The Lower East Side is one of the oldest neighborhoods of the city. It was typically home to the lower-class immigrants. The late 1800s and early 1900s was an especially dark time for the residents of the Lower East Side. The area was known as the slums of New York. Jacob Riis is one of the few who attempted to shed light on the horrible conditions that the residents were living in and how the other half lives. His images brought attention to the issues and helped the area.
New York City's lying wide awake under the glow of a street light. I feel the rumble that the concrete makes. I might hail a cab down right through the Highland to the interstate.
While the Lower East Side has improved since Jacob Riis's time, it's still seen as the grunge area of Manhattan.
People below look pretty small from up here.
This is what Deschateaux would call a bird's eye view of Manhattan. Right now we're on the 32nd floor of the Marymount Manhattan Residence Hall. And here is a way that you can kind of see the buildings the way he was describing, like how you can see the World Trade Center. Just by standing on the 110th floor, you see everything. Granted, it's dark now, but that being said, all you get to see are all of the lights.
All that she wants is another baby, yeah. Say all that she wants.
Being high up and being at a bird's eye view of Manhattan makes it very different than seeing it from street level. Deschateaux kind of talked about how the differences in street level versus bird's eye view kind of changed your perspectives of Manhattan. As you're street level, you're among the people. You walk with them and you see their view as you see yours. You have the same view of the world and same idea of what Manhattan is because you're all looking at it the same way. And seeing it from this level is much different from seeing it on street level because here the buildings are around the same size as you. You're equal, everything is eyesight, and then when you look down, that's when you see all the people in the daytime. Now that it's nighttime, all you see is all of the lights that make the buildings. New York's pretty much man's greatest achievement.
Is more than a place. It is a living being, an ever-changing, always growing presence that almost seems to watch over us as we walk through it. New York is special in that you can never get used to it. By the time you do, they've renovated it or rebuilt it to the point of where it's unrecognizable. The only thing you can do is accept the change and just keep going. Our streets are calendars containing who we were and who we will be next. We see ourselves in the city every day when we walk down the sidewalk and catch our reflections in store windows. Seek ourselves in the city each time we reminisce about what was there 15, 10, 40 years ago, because all our old places are proof that we were here. One day, the city we built will be gone. And when it goes, we go. When the buildings fall, we topple too.